Admiral John Carter stood at the bridge of Earth's orbital defense station, his eyes fixed on the massive alien vessel that had appeared without warning. The ship simply materialized in Earth's orbit, bypassing all early detection systems and defensive grids. It was enormous, easily 10 times larger than anything humans had ever constructed in space. "Sir, nothing on any scanners until it just appeared," Lieutenant Olivia Martinez reported, her voice steady despite the tension filling the command center. "No approach trajectory, no warp signature, nothing." Carter nodded grimly. 20 years of military service hadn't prepared him for this moment. Humanity's first confirmed contact with an alien civilization. The enormous vessel hung silently against the backdrop of stars, its metallic surface catching the sun in ways that made it seem almost alive. "Weapons status?" he asked quietly. "All defense systems online, sir, but—" Martins hesitated. "Preliminary analysis suggests our weapons would have minimal impact against a vessel of that size and composition." The room fell silent as this reality sank in. Earth's most advanced defensive technology might be useless against whatever had just arrived on their doorstep. "Sir, we're detecting smaller craft launching from the vessel," called out Communications Officer Ryan Nguyen. 4. No, 6 smaller ships breaking formation. Carter watched as the smaller ships, each still larger than Earth's largest spacecraft, spread out in a precise pattern around the planet. They weren't making aggressive movements, but their positioning suggested a strategic deployment. "Any communications?" Carter asked. "Nothing on standard frequencies," Nguyen replied, then suddenly straightened in his chair. "Wait, we're receiving something now. It's adapting to our communication systems." The main view screen flickered, and the image of a humanoid figure appeared. It had pale blue skin stretched over an elongated skull, large almond-shaped eyes, and no visible nose, just 2 small breathing slits. When it spoke, its thin lips barely moved, but perfect English filled the bridge. "Greetings, people of Earth. I am Ambassador Galactic of the Taurian Empire. We have come to evaluate your world for integration into our galactic community." Carter stepped forward. "This is Admiral John Carter of the United Earth Defense Force. We were not aware of any planned integration." The alien's expression didn't change. "Integration is not a matter requiring your prior awareness, Admiral. The Taurian Empire spans 3,000 worlds across 12 star clusters. We have identified Earth as a potential asset. Assessment will now begin." "Assessment?" Carter's voice remained measured despite his growing concern. "Your technological development, resource distribution, biological diversity, and societal structures will be cataloged. Once complete, Earth will be assigned an appropriate classification and integration protocol." Before Carter could respond, the alien continued. "Resistance has historically proven both futile and unnecessary. The benefits of Taurian oversight far outweigh autonomous development." "Ambassador Galactic," Carter said carefully, "Earth is a sovereign planet. Any assessment or integration would require our consent." The alien tilted its head slightly, as though Carter had said something mildly amusing. "Your understanding is incomplete, Admiral. Consent is not a variable in this equation. The smaller vessels you observe are deploying assessment teams. They will require access to your leaders, population centers, and resource regions." Carter felt a cold knot forming in his stomach. The alien wasn't threatening them. It simply didn't recognize their right to refuse. In its mind, Earth's absorption into this empire was already decided. "We'll need to discuss this with our world governments," Carter said. "Proceed with your discussions," Galactic replied. "The assessment phase typically requires 14 of your days. We will maintain this position until completion." The transmission ended abruptly. Carter turned to his senior staff, their faces mirroring his own concern. "Get me the Secretary General," he ordered, "and alert all military commands worldwide. We got visitors, and they're not asking permission to stay." Dr. William Boyd hunched over his desk, surrounded by screens showing translations of the Taurian language. After 3 days of non-stop work, dark circles hung under his eyes. As Earth's leading xenolinguist, he had been called in immediately after first contact. They don't just want to visit, he explained to the gathered members of the United Earth Defense Council. Their entire language lacks concepts for equal exchange between different civilizations. They either rule or are ruled. The council room was silent as his words sank in. 12 men and women representing Earth's defense interests sat around a large oval table, their faces grim in the harsh lighting. "Can we negotiate with them?" asked General Elena Reyes, her hands folded tightly on the table. Boyd shook his head. "They're not asking permission. The Taurians operate on what they call benevolent absorption. They genuinely believe bringing planets under their control is for the greater good of all species involved." Catherine Daniels, the head of global intelligence, stood up and activated the room's central display. Satellite images showed the smaller Taurian ships hovering over major cities worldwide. "They've already begun what they call their assessment," she said. "They're scanning everything. Our infrastructure, technology, even our biology. We have reports of brief abductions from 23 countries. The subjects are returned unharmed but confused. Medical exams show evidence of tissue sampling." "What about direct contact?" asked Admiral Carter, who had joined the meeting via secure video link from the orbital station. "The Taurians have bypassed our normal diplomatic channels," Daniels replied. "They're meeting directly with world leaders, offering technological advances in exchange for what they call administrative cooperation. Some governments are considering their offers." Dr. Boyd stood up abruptly. "That's exactly how they operate. They identify the ruling structures of a planet and offer incentives for peaceful integration. Planets that resist are simply overwhelmed by superior technology." Outside the council chambers, the world watched the skies with a mixture of fear and wonder. News channels broadcast continuous footage of the alien ships. Religious leaders called for calm while preparing for the possibility that long-held beliefs might need revision. Scientists eagerly awaited any chance to study the visitors' advanced technology. In a secure laboratory beneath Geneva, Dr. Anna Foster examined one of the few pieces of Taurian technology humans had managed to acquire, a small scanning device left behind after one of their survey missions. "The materials aren't even in our periodic table," she reported to her team. "And the power source, it's not depleting at all, even though it's clearly active." Meanwhile, in cities around the world, strange occurrences were becoming common. Electronic systems would briefly fail when Taurian ships passed overhead. Some people reported hearing voices or seeing images that others couldn't perceive. Animals behaved erratically, with birds changing migration patterns and domestic pets becoming either unusually aggressive or docile. Back in the council room, Defense Secretary Howard Graham slammed his fist on the table. "We need to show some strength. We can't just let them walk all over us." "With what?" General Rice asked. "Their ships have technology centuries beyond ours. A direct confrontation would be suicide." Catherine Daniels cleared her throat. "There might be another option. Project Prometheus." The room fell silent again. Many council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "That's still theoretical," someone objected. "Not entirely," Daniels replied. "And it might be our only chance to level the playing field." As the council debated, a Taurian assessment ship descended over the Pentagon in Washington. Its presence was not subtle or hidden, a clear message that Earth's military secrets were of particular interest to the Empire. Dr. Boyd looked out the window at the alien craft and sighed. "They're not even trying to hide what they're doing. In their experience, resistance has never lasted long." Major Samuel Wells stepped out of the military helicopter into the dry New Mexico heat. The sun beat down on the seemingly empty desert landscape, but he knew what lay beneath. 5 armed soldiers fell into formation around him as they approached what looked like an ordinary mesa. "Identification," demanded a voice from nowhere. Wells held up his palm for the biometric scanner hidden in the rock face. A moment later, A section of stone slid away, revealing a reinforced elevator large enough for the entire group. "Welcome to Dreamland, Major," said the security officer who met them 80 feet below ground. "The general is waiting." As they walked through the facility, Wells observed scientists and military personnel moving with renewed urgency. The alien presence orbiting Earth had kicked this place into high gear. They passed through 3 more security checkpoints before reaching the central command area. General Patricia Morgan stood in front of a large screen showing real-time positions of the Taurian vessels around Earth. Her silver hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and though she was in her 60s, her posture remained perfectly straight. "Major Wells," she said without turning. "Thank you for coming so quickly." "Ma'am," Wells replied with a sharp salute. "The situation up top is deteriorating. The Taurians have started deploying ground teams in major cities." Morgan nodded, "which is why we're accelerating the timeline." She turned to face him fully. "Walk with me." They moved through another secure door, leaving the other soldiers behind. This section required even higher clearance. "Project Prometheus has been operational for 15 years, Morgan explained as they walked. "Most of the Defense Council still thinks it's theoretical, but we've been making steady progress since the 2037 crash." Wells tried to hide his surprise. Few people knew about the alien craft that had crashed in Brazil in 2037. The government had publicly claimed it was an experimental aircraft, and most believed it. "So we did recover usable technology," he said quietly. "More than usable," Morgan replied. "The craft was damaged, but largely intact. And it wasn't Taurian, it was from a different species altogether." They reached an enormous set of blast doors. Morgan placed her hand on a scanner, and the massive doors slowly parted. Wells couldn't help but gasp at what lay beyond. The hangar was immense, carved directly from the bedrock beneath the desert. And there, under powerful lights, sat 3 sleek spacecraft unlike anything publicly known to exist on Earth. "My God," he whispered. The vessels were roughly triangular, but with curved edges that seemed to bend light around them. Their hulls shimmered with a material that looked like liquid metal, constantly shifting in subtle patterns despite being solid. "The Firefly, the Phoenix, and the Valkyrie," Morgan said, pointing to each craft in turn. "Each incorporates elements not found on the periodic table. Their propulsion systems operate on principles that defy our physics until recently." A team of technicians swarmed around the closest vessel, making final adjustments. Wells noticed that the ship had no visible seams or joints. It appeared to be formed from a single piece of material. "How do they compare to the Taurian ships?" Wells asked. "That's the question, isn't it?" Morgan replied. "Based on our observations, the crashed ship used technology more advanced than what the Taurians have displayed. The being who piloted it didn't survive, but its ship's database contained information about various galactic powers. The Taurians were listed among them." Wells walked closer to the nearest ship, the Firefly. "These are fully operational. They've been tested in lunar orbit, away from prying eyes. The quantum displacement drive allows them to appear and disappear from sensors. Essentially, they can jump short distances without conventional acceleration." Morgan's face grew more serious. "Humanity has had one advantage throughout this encounter. They don't know what we know. They think they're dealing with a planet that just reached space travel a few decades ago." Wells looked at the vessels with new understanding. "When do we deploy?" "We're selecting pilots now. These ships represent our one chance to show the Taurians that Earth isn't as defenseless as they think." The United Nations Assembly Hall fell silent as the enormous holographic form of Ambassador Xalthic appeared above the central podium. The Taurian stood 15 feet tall in the projection, towering over the gathered representatives from every nation on Earth. His blue skin seemed to glow from within, and his large eyes swept across the assembly without blinking. "People of Earth," the alien began, his voice perfectly translated into each delegate's native language through their earpieces. "The assessment phase is now complete. 1 week had passed since the Taurian ships first appeared in Earth's orbit. During that time, they had scanned every inch of the planet, taken samples of its resources, and studied human civilization with methodical precision. Earth has been categorized as a Class 3 developmental world. Zolthic continued. Your technology has achieved spaceflight and begun rudimentary exploration of your solar system. Your social structures show promise but remain divided by primitive tribal boundaries you call nations. Many delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Some appeared offended, others fearful. A few nodded in reluctant agreement. Under Taurian guidance, these inefficiencies will be corrected. You will receive technological upgrades, unified governance, and integration into our trade networks. Your species shows potential but requires proper guidance to avoid the self-destruction common to developing civilizations. The Secretary General rose from her seat. Ambassador Zolthic, while we appreciate your assessment, Earth's nations must maintain their sovereignty. Any partnership must be based on mutual respect and... Your understanding is incomplete, Zolthic interrupted, his tone unchanged. This is not a negotiation. Integration will proceed according to established protocols. Resistance has proven historically counterproductive for species at your development stage. Images appeared beside the ambassador, showing dozens of other worlds under Taurian control. Some appeared to be thriving with advanced cities and infrastructure. Others showed clear military occupation. These worlds chose different paths, Zolthic explained. Those that embraced integration now enjoy prosperity. Those that resisted eventually submitted after unnecessary hardship. The ambassador's enormous eyes narrowed slightly. You have 48 hours to prepare your population and disband your military forces. Taurian administrators will begin planetary reorganization immediately thereafter. This is most efficient. The projection vanished abruptly, leaving the assembly in stunned silence before erupting into chaos. Delegates shouted over each other, some calling for immediate surrender while others demanded resistance at any cost. In secret bunkers around the world, humanity's leaders gathered to discuss their options. The American president convened with his military advisors beneath the Rocky Mountains. Chinese leadership retreated to their hardened underground complex outside Beijing. European Union officials gathered in a facility deep beneath the Alps. Public reaction varied wildly. In many cities, people packed their belongings and fled to rural areas, fearing the coming occupation. Religious groups proclaimed the end times or the beginning of a new age. Some welcomed the aliens as saviors who would solve Earth's problems of climate change, disease, and poverty. Others prepared to fight. Military units were placed on high alert, though most commanders knew their weapons would be useless against Taurian technology. Dr. William Boyd sat with the United Earth Defense Council, translating the subtle meanings behind the ambassador's ultimatum. When they say reorganization, they mean replacing our governments with their own administrators, he explained. The Taurian concept of integration means complete absorption into their empire. They genuinely believe they're helping us, like parents guiding children. Catherine Daniels slid a tablet across the table, showing images of Taurian ships moving into lower orbits around Earth. They're positioning for planetary control, she said grimly. Once they establish ground bases, any resistance becomes nearly impossible. Admiral Carter's face appeared on the main screen, broadcasting from orbit. Project Prometheus is ready, he reported. But we'll only get one chance at this. Defense Secretary Graham nodded slowly. Then it's time. Activate Operation Defiance. As night fell across much of Earth, people looked up at the alien ships visible in the sky, wondering if human freedom would survive another day. Captain Laura Bennett took a deep breath as the hangar doors slid open above her. The cockpit of the Firefly hummed with energy, displays lighting up her face with a soft blue glow. Unlike conventional aircraft, the controls were mostly thought responsive, another technology reverse-engineered from the crashed alien ship. All systems green, she reported. Quantum displacement drive is online. On either side of her, the Phoenix and Valkyrie powered up, piloted by Captain Eric Nelson and Major Maria Rodriguez. All three were top fighter pilots who had trained in secret for months on the experimental craft. Remember, this is not an attack mission. General Morgan's voice came through their secure channel. This is a demonstration. We need to show capability without starting a war we can't win. Understood, Bennett replied. Operation Defiance is go. The three ships rose silently from the underground hangar, appearing to observers as nothing more than brief distortions in the air. Their stealth systems, far beyond normal human technology, masked them completely from conventional detection. As they reached the upper atmosphere, Bennett gazed at the massive Taurian mothership in near-Earth orbit. The alien vessel was magnificent, its surface covered with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and flow. Dozens of smaller craft surrounded it, maintaining a perfect formation. They haven't detected us yet, Nelson reported from the Phoenix. Their scan patterns are unchanged. Let's change that, Bennett said. Phase 1 beginning now. She engaged the conventional engines, making the Firefly visible to Taurian sensors. The other two pilots followed suit. Almost immediately, they saw the reaction. Taurian defensive systems activating. Energy fields forming around their main vessel. They've spotted us, Rodriguez confirmed. They're sending automated warnings, but not weapons. They don't consider us a threat. Bennett allowed herself a small smile. Time to change their minds. Execute Phase 2 on my mark. Now. She activated the quantum displacement drive. The stars around her ship blurred momentarily as the Firefly disappeared from normal space, reappearing instantly at a precisely calculated position, directly adjacent to the command deck of the Taurian mothership. Through the Firefly's viewport, Bennett could see the startled faces of Taurian officers inside their ship. The alien beings moved with sudden urgency, clearly shocked by the human vessel's impossible maneuver. Nelson's Phoenix materialized on the opposite side of the mothership, while Rodriguez positioned the Valkyrie above it. The three Earth ships had essentially teleported to positions that should have been impossible to reach without being destroyed by the Taurians' defensive systems. Phase 2 complete, Bennett reported. We have their attention. Inside the Taurian vessel, alarms blared. Their sensors had not detected any approach vector. The Earth ships had simply vanished from one position and appeared in another, a technology the Taurians clearly hadn't expected from a Class 3 civilization. Bennett activated a targeted communication beam directly to the Taurian command deck. This is Captain Laura Bennett of Earth. We are demonstrating a fraction of our defensive capabilities. We request an immediate revision of your integration plans. For several tense moments, no response came. Bennett could see Taurian officers conferring urgently through the viewport. Finally, Ambassador Galactic himself appeared on her communication screen. This technology is not consistent with our assessment, the alien stated, his voice betraying a hint of confusion for the first time. Your assessment was incomplete, Bennett replied calmly. Earth has chosen to reveal only a fraction of our capabilities until now. She nodded to her fellow pilots, who initiated a second jump, the three ships disappearing and reappearing in perfect formation directly in front of the mothership's main sensor array. No weapons had been fired. None needed to be. The message was clear. If humans possessed technology that could bypass the Taurians' most sophisticated detection systems, what else might they be capable of? Admiral Carter requests your presence for urgent diplomatic discussions, Bennett continued. Earth is prepared to establish relations with the Taurian Empire as equals, not subjects. The Taurian ambassador stared silently through the communication link, his large eyes blinking rapidly as he processed this unexpected development. Admiral John Carter stood in the orbital meeting chamber, a hastily prepared neutral space aboard Earth's largest space station. The room had been modified to accommodate the physical differences between humans and Taurians, with specialized atmospheric controls and adjusted gravity settings. Across from Carter, Ambassador Galactic sat on a specially designed chair, his blue skin reflecting the station's lights with an almost metallic sheen. The tension in the room was palpable. 4 hours had passed since Operation Defiance had revealed Earth's hidden technological capabilities. Your assessment was incomplete, Carter stated flatly, looking directly at the Taurian. Earth has chosen to reveal only a fraction of our capabilities until now. What you witness today represents technology we developed decades ago. Zolthic's large eyes narrowed slightly. Our scans detected no evidence of such advancement. Precisely, Carter replied. We developed methods to shield our most important research facilities from external detection after our first encounter with non-Earth technology in 2037. Carter activated a holographic display between them. Images appeared showing various hidden human achievements: quantum communication arrays, gravity manipulation devices, and theoretical models for technologies the Taurians themselves had not yet mastered. This facility, Carter continued, pointing to an underground complex, has been developing applications of zero-point energy for 15 years. And this, he indicated another location, is where we first tested our quantum displacement technology. The Admiral moved closer to the Taurian, his voice firm but not threatening. We kept these developments secret because Earth has long been aware of the possibility of contact with more advanced civilizations. We needed to ensure we would not be at a complete disadvantage. Zolthic remained silent for several moments, his elongated fingers tapping together in what seemed to be a gesture of thought. Finally, he spoke. If you possess such technology, why have you not unified your planet? Your nations still compete and conflict. Carter smiled slightly. That is our choice. Human diversity, even with its complications, is something we value. We believe different approaches and perspectives make us stronger as a species. The Taurian ambassador studied the human with renewed interest. Most species we encounter either destroy themselves through competition or unify under a single authority. Your approach is unusual. Earth is not interested in conquest or aggression, Carter continued. But neither will we be conquered or absorbed. This is our one and only warning. He let those words hang in the air between them. The Taurian Empire spans thousands of worlds, Zolthic reminded him. Our resources far exceed yours. Perhaps, Carter acknowledged. But consider this, if the technology we've revealed today represents what we developed decades ago, what might we have developed since? And what would be the cost of finding out? The implied message was clear. War with Earth would not be the simple subjugation the Taurians had initially expected. It would be costly, unpredictable, and potentially devastating to both sides. Carter pressed a small device on the table, and another hologram appeared. This one showing a theoretical weapons system that could disrupt the unique subspace field the Taurian ships used for propulsion. We've never built this, Carter said honestly. We've never had reason to. We hope we never will. Zolthic's posture changed subtly, an alien equivalent of resignation or reassessment. You are proposing an alternative to standard integration. I am proposing mutual respect between different civilizations, Carter replied. Earth is willing to establish diplomatic relations, cultural exchange, even limited technology sharing with the Taurian Empire, but as equals, not as subjects. The Taurian rose from his seat, his full height nearly 7 feet. I must consult with the Imperial Council. This situation is unprecedented in recent memory. As the ambassador prepared to depart, Carter added one final thought. Ambassador Zolthic, please convey to your leaders that humanity is prepared for either outcome, peaceful cooperation or defending our independence. The choice now lies with the Taurian Empire. The Taurian gave what might have been the equivalent of a nod before turning to leave. The future relationship between Earth and the galactic power now hung in the balance. The Taurian fleet withdrew to the edge of the solar system within hours of Ambassador Zolthic's meeting with Admiral Carter. For 3 tense days, Earth waited. Military forces remained on high alert, and the Prometheus craft maintained regular patrols in Earth orbit. Citizens around the world watched the skies, wondering if the alien ships would return with peaceful intentions or overwhelming force. On the morning of the 4th day, sensors detected a single vessel approaching Earth. Unlike the massive mothership or the numerous scout craft that had preceded it, This was a smaller, elegantly designed ship with minimal weapon systems visible on its exterior. "It appears to be a diplomatic vessel," Lieutenant Martinez informed Admiral Carter as they tracked its approach from the orbital defense station. "Just one ship," Carter noted. "That's promising." The Taurian vessel established orbit and requested permission to dock with the space station, a courtesy they hadn't extended during their first arrival. Ambassador Galactic transmitted his intentions to meet with Earth's representatives. In the same orbital meeting chamber where they had last met, Galactic now stood before a larger human delegation that included Admiral Carter, United Nations officials, and Dr. William Boyd, to ensure precise translation. "The Imperial Council has reviewed our findings regarding Earth," Galactic began, his tone noticeably different from their previous encounters. "Based on new information, the Taurian Empire has recategorized Earth as a sovereign pure state rather than a Class 3 developmental world." A subtle ripple of relief passed through the human delegation. "This designation," Galactic continued, "acknowledges your technological achievements and your right to self-determination. We propose a mutual defense and trade agreement between equals, with cultural and scientific exchange beneficial to both our civilizations." Carter exchanged glances with the UN Secretary-General, who gave a slight nod. "Earth welcomes this proposal," Carter replied. "We believe peaceful cooperation will benefit both our peoples far more than conflict ever could." Over the next several hours, the initial framework for Earth-Taurian relations was established. The aliens would share certain technologies, particularly in medicine and environmental restoration, while humans would offer insights into quantum displacement theory, which had developed along different lines than Taurian science. As the meeting concluded, Galactic approached Carter privately. "Your strategy was most effective, Admiral," the Taurian said quietly. "I must know how much of what you showed me was real and how much was theoretical." Carter smiled. "That, Ambassador, will remain Earth's secret for now." Galactic made the strange clicking sound that humans had learned was Taurian laughter. "A wise approach. The Empire respects strength and wisdom in equal measure." 2 months later, Dr. Lisa Chen stood before a mirror, adjusting the formal diplomatic uniform she would wear as Earth's newly appointed ambassador to galactic affairs. Her team of diplomats, scientists, and security personnel prepared for humanity's first official mission to Taurian space. "Nervous?" asked her deputy, Jason Miller, as they boarded the shuttle that would take them to the waiting Taurian diplomatic vessel. "A little," Chen admitted. "We're making history today." As their shuttle approached the alien ship, Chen reflected on humanity's unique position. In the span of mere months, Earth had gone from an isolated world to a recognized power in galactic politics. "We never wanted to rule the stars," she told her staff as they gathered for a final briefing before departure. "But we needed them to understand that the stars would never rule us." Earth's revelation of hidden strength had earned something rare in the cosmos: respect without bloodshed, recognition without subjugation. Word spread quickly through the Taurian Empire and beyond. Other galactic powers took notice of the small blue planet that had stood up to the mighty empire and secured its independence. Some sent their own diplomatic missions to Earth, eager to establish relations with this surprising new player in galactic affairs. In the classified facilities around Earth, work continued on advancing human technology. The lesson had been clear. In a universe filled with ancient and powerful civilizations, humanity's best protection was innovation and determination. The message echoed across the stars: underestimate humanity at your peril. Our warning would only be issued once.